That's all you can do right now. But I hope you guys are well, and welcome along to the stream today. Going to kick off with this story. Now, of course, we know that Liverpool done an embarrassing U-turn on this furlough scheme. Tottenham done an embarrassing U-turn on this furlough scheme. Now Bournemouth have followed them. They were the other club that said that they were going to furlough all of their staff. They have now done an embarrassing U-turn and turned around and said that we are not going to furlough our staff. We made a mistake, which is fair enough. You know, I mean, if you make it, everybody can make a mistake in life. And they said that they are going to pay their staff and not rely on the government furlough scheme. And I think it's the other club, Norwich, that did it. Maybe you might see them following suit as well. But the right decision for these clubs to make. They should never, ever have, you know, went and used that scheme in the first place. And I think they've made themselves look really, really bad by jumping on it. The other club that has done it, that still no word on whether they're going to, you know, back out of it, is Newcastle. Now, knowing their owner, he'll probably try and stick to it. On Newcastle, actually, they're on the verge of selling that. So I saw the news yesterday where they're saying £300 million Mike Ashley's going to sell it for. And it apparently is going to be some Saudi owners, sort of fronted by some people over here in the UK, that are going to take it over. So with Saudi owners, Newcastle could become a formidable threat, because when it comes to money, you know, there's no shortage of that in Saudi Arabia. And if they're going to be pumping money into Newcastle, all of a sudden, that is going to become a completely different team. I mean, it's already a big club as far as I'm concerned. You know what I mean? They've got a massive stadium. They get like nearly 50,000 fans every week. One of the best supported clubs in this country. Got one of the best away supports. If not, sometimes I look at Newcastle actually, and I say they have the best away support, because when you think of the distance they have to travel to literally every ground, and they always still sell out their capacity, they've got a brilliant away support. So somebody pumping millions into that is going to become a major threat to all of the other so-called big teams. I mean, a major threat to Arsenal. Major threat to Arsenal. Again, when we're talking about trying to get into the top four and things like that, Newcastle Football Club, with loads of money behind it, becomes a major, major threat to Arsenal. It really does. And this is why our owner, he needs to shape up. And especially with this whole coronavirus thing, we know that money's going to be really, really short. We've already seen the moves that Arsenal are trying to make with reducing wages at the club and talking about how worried they are going forward, which, to be fair, every club is. But Newcastle, with Saudi owners, they are going to be a major threat. And you think about the clubs now that are going to have a lot of money, you know, probably post this coronavirus thing once we get through this, but clubs that are going to have a lot of money, obviously the obvious ones, your Man United, your Manchester Cities, Liverpool, Chelsea, we know, who is loads of money with Roman Abramovich there. You've now got Everton in that bracket as well. Lots of money, billionaire owner. You've got you've got Newcastle, if they get these Saudi owners, multi-billionaire owners, right? Leicester have got a few bob as well. Arsenal, that's about, you know, so you're talking about 8 clubs with mega money, right? Pushing for those top 4 places. So, you know, if we don't start getting our act together, and if our owner don't start getting his act together, and I know it's a really difficult time with this coronavirus thing going around, we could in years to come see clubs like Newcastle overtake us if those owners start spending. And as I said, guys from Saudi Arabia have money and they don't mess around with their money either. So we really got to get our act together. Talking of signings and that, yesterday I spoke about this one. We had Kelechi on the show, and it was Thomas Partey we were talking quite a lot about on the show. Thomas Partey, of course, linked with Arsenal yesterday. There's been talks that Arsenal have put a deal worth £43 million on the table and said to Atletico, listen, here's the money. We're willing to take Partey if you're willing to sell him. The money's down there, and that report was coming out of Spain. Now, how true that report is or not, who knows? As I said, we know that at the moment, money is going to be short at Arsenal. So will they really have the money to pull this deal off? It could be that they're looking at selling, and Aubameyang's the obvious one, but there could be a couple of other players that maybe they might sell to finance that. But would Arsenal have the money to pull this off? Reports out of Spain saying they might be able to do it and that they put the money down. But whether it's true or not, I mean, we'll find out over the coming months or so. But the Thomas Partey one is still out there today. And there's lots of talk about the possibility of him. And there's no doubt about it. That would be a great signing for Arsenal. But I think if we did sign him, that would surely mean that, say, well, at the very least, maybe a Torreira would be moving on, and you'd also have to look at somebody like an Aubameyang to finance that sort of deal. Because remember, we haven't paid the Nicolas Pepe money yet. Remember that. We still got to pay for that. But whether it happens or not, we'll have to wait and see. The other one that's been talked about a lot is about Philippe Coutinho. Now, I like Coutinho, and I've said for quite a while that I think somebody like Philippe Coutinho would suit Arsenal because he's a goal-scoring midfielder, scores a lot of goals from the edge of the box. He's a dangerous player. Basically, he gets the ball on the edge of the box. He's a very, very dangerous player, and he's a top player. However, he's a very expensive player. Now, Barcelona, remember, in 2018, I think it was in January of 2018, they paid £142 million for him. And obviously they're seriously regretting that because he has just not kicked on. He was on loan at Bayern Munich. It hasn't really worked out for him there either. 27 now, Coutinho. His agent is Kia Joachim, who we know is reportedly an Arsenal fan and very close to some of the hierarchy now at Arsenal. And the reports out there are that he's been offered to Arsenal in two ways. Arsenal can either buy him outright for £75 million. And again, that looks highly unlikely to me, especially when, as I said, you consider the lack of money that is going to be around. But they could buy him outright for £75 million, or they can take him on loan. Now, if they take him on loan, they're going to have to meet half of his wages. Half of his wages, would be £145,000 a week. Now, you think a big club like Arsenal could definitely afford that. There's other players on around about the same money. I think Aubameyang would be on that sort of money. We all know Ozil's on double, right? But it would be a very expensive deal even on loan. But I think he's a type of player that would bring goals. He obviously knows the Premier League, was one of Liverpool's best players when he was there. So could that deal happen? And again, his agent is very close to Arsenal. So if Arsenal had the will to make it happen, there's no doubt it could be done. But do Arsenal have the will to get a deal like that done? That is the question that I think every fan would like to know. I mean, I don't know about you guys. Do you rate Coutinho? Would he be a good player for Arsenal? Let me know. But he's been linked very, very heavily today. Hencho says, Robbie, huge fan, would rather have Coutinho or a centre back like Upamecano. Your opinion? We don't need Coutinho. We don't need Coutinho now. Rather a centre back. Well, I think we do need a player like Coutinho. I do think we need. I do think we need a player that's going to be in midfield and scores goals, because our midfield. Look at it last season, or calling it last season, but the season that's still here at the moment. How many goals do we scored from midfield? Barely any. So I definitely think it would be good. Cheshenelo says, why Partey though? Well, I think Partey again will be a good signing. I think that's just this type of signing that Arsenal are missing. We all talk about